discussion between the two boards. So in an example governance structure for a joint board, equal representation, no elected officials. You'd have 6 members in this scenario. This is just an example. You can see evenly split between the county and the city. There's examples out there in North Carolina. There's also examples outside of North Carolina on what this would look like, but you can see the examples that are there. And so this speaks to the governance board. And then, Mr. Mayor, I'd turn it over to you, and I think this is one of the key points that we need to come to some agreement.
Did you want to go over the other model?
No, the other model is the advisory board and the day-to-day. So you can go to the next one. So just to understand the advisory board would be made up of those public safety agencies. This is what the Public Safety Working Group recommended to us. So you've got that advisory board. They're really the ones that are making sure the policy and procedures are in place, protocols, those different things. They're that advisory board to the governing board. And then, of course, the day-to-day operations would be a consolidated center director, so they run the day-to-day operations. In this case, the recommendation was for the current city 911 director, Lisa Reed, to serve as that initial consolidated center director. Again, but the intent is that the day-to-day is run at the consolidated center director.
I did have one to circle the council for a moment of questions. Councilmember Hare.
Thank you, Mayor. I do understand the platform for the organization chart. I really have no problem with that, and I understand the Communication Advisory Board. Just for thought and maybe even some conversation if it's necessary, we have no regular public to serve in any form of the Communications Advisory Board, or
you mean like regular citizens appointees,
yeah, regular
where
citizens.
It's not a professional in
right? That's not, because it's not listed over here.
Well, these are just proposed models, okay? And so I guess the goal of step one would be answer any questions that we have off of model 1 or 2, and I'll let the chairman talk about 2. But if there are any things that you would like to add, if you thought that there needs to be a place for a citizen, I know this was such a specialized field that you probably want someone who has some background of emergency operations, but these are just proposals, so it's whatever the county and the city council and the commission comes to.
Yes, sir. That was going to be my follow-up. Just as we do with our own appointments committees, we try to at least align those folk that have some forms of background. So that was just a thought that I would like to see that, and that the initiative be as we're speaking now.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hare. Chairman Devier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you go back to the proposed governance structure, what the mayor is referencing, Model 1 or Model 2, understand that there's some agreements to consolidation, but how we govern are the two items. So we've talked about the joint 911 communications board. Again, that would county and city would populate a joint board. They would be the governing authority that would have oversight on the joint 911 communication center with input from an advisory board. The second model is a single entity control, where you have either the city or the county run it. They control the joint 911 with an advisory board still plugged in. So I guess a scenario like that would be something like you see with our joint Parks and Rec. So I think, Mr. Mayor, the discussion would be, can we find consensus on Model 1 or 2? And I just need to make sure y'all are an expert with your mics and how to ask questions. I'm just going to ask my team to raise your hand, and I'll call on you if you have questions.
And I do have a question from Councilmember Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if now is the appropriate time, but I certainly want to have somebody from city staff, I think, basically brief our county partners on some of the things that they shared with us in a series of small group meetings that we had. We want to say it was around the same time that we got data back from the Wilson Center, as well as UNC Charlotte, that they also gave us their feedback on, this joint meeting that they had. And I think there was some really important information that council members were made aware of, with some concerns that our city staff had. And I think now is the time for those to be made clear to everybody.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hewitt, or who, not sure if this is one of the chiefs, who would have information on what he's speaking of specifically? And before we call you all up, I think the first question is, as the chairman said, is to see if there is a consensus for consolidation. All right, now the how we can get to, but if we can't answer that, or there's not an alignment of the majority of both boards to consolidate or to explore consolidation, I don't know that the next steps are necessary. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is propose on the council side to see if there is a consensus to explore consolidation, whether it's model 1 or 2, but just the thought that this is something that we want to do jointly. And then I'll turn it over to you just to get that portion settled. Council, I'll entertain any motion for that. Oh, Mayor Pro Tem has her light.
So before we go to that, I do agree. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree that we need to see if everybody is in favor of consolidation. And I think that we as a council have said we are okay with consolidation and we want to explore it. But I think at the end of the day, what it's always come down to is the governance of it. So if you're asking for us to say we want to consolidate and we get the governance worked out, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I was just going to break it down into two, just to formally make an action to say if the city council is interested in exploring consolidation, and then if the commission is favorable in the same, then we can go back to the governance model and the details of staff question answering and those kind of things. So, Councilmember Hare, I saw your.
Yes, sir. I was. I'm in favor and supporting that there be a proposed consolidation with us to have a little bit more discussion on which model.
All right, there's a motion by Councilmember Hare. Just to gather consensus, seconded by Hondros. Councilmember Benavente, I saw that it had your light on. Was it for a question or?
I guess at this point, just for discussion, or maybe it is a question, I just feel like we've taken a vote on this already, and I'm not sure if the city clerk can clarify whether or not we've taken that vote. I think we've already kind of treaded this water before, and I'm not sure, that I'm okay with consolidating under a very specific structure, so I don't really understand how it can be one before the other at this point.
Well, right now, this is the first joint meeting. Even if we reach a consensus, this will formalize that there's willingness or still willingness on the board to explore that, and then we move on, because I didn't think it was prudent to talk about which model if there wasn't a will by both boards to do it in the first place. So, but there's a motion and a second. And any other questions or discussion? All right, Council, look to you for your votes. You still blank over there? All right, well, just raise your hand. Okay, all right, all right. Councilman Benavente?
Green.
All right, motion carries on our end. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Commission, I would entertain a motion for consolidation. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we vote in favor of the consolidation of PSAPs with the City of Fayetteville.
Is there a second? Second. We've got a motion to consolidate PSAPs with the City of Fayetteville. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. All right, Council. Now, Councilman Benavente, before I turn it over to the manager to speak specifics, I know when we talked before, Council, any questions pertaining to the models or any of the presentations that we had during our initial briefing that you'd like discussed today as we explore option 1 or 2? And go to Councilmember Hare and then Benavente.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like for us to travel down the road of the joint 911 consolidation and then have those discussions along with what I was just speaking of, having a public citizen to be considered for part of the advisory board, one with backgrounds that we normally look for related to those particular boards as we do presently in our appointments committee. The same I would be requesting for the advisory board here.
All right, thank you, and I'll come back to you. Councilman Benavente? Or Mr.
Thank
Hewitt,
you,
did
Mr.
you
Mayor.
have someone to answer that question? Councilman Benavente, can you repeat your ask?
Yes, so there were a series of small group sessions that city staff presented on Wilson Center and UNC Charlotte studies that we had conducted. And then in that same meeting, we also had an update from relevant staff on the ongoing discussions around Joint 911. So the concerns that were shared during those one-on-one or small group occasions, I think this is the time, if there was ever a time, for that information to be shared now more publicly.
Dr. Hewitt, do you have any follow-up to that?
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome, Commissioners. Councilman Benavente is correct. We briefed the council on the cost of gun violence study that the City Council had commissioned, among other things, and we also backfilled the council on the joint 911 issue. As it relates to the history, which is before you, as well as the PowerPoint that has been provided, there was consensus of the working group, and I think all of the public safety officials who are here, from Gary to both chiefs, I know I'm going to miss somebody, I see Chief Johnson over there as well, would agree that a consolidated, merged, or some form of fashion would make sense. As many people around the table have heard and have seen, the details are what seem to elude us from time to time. And I would ask that both Chief Dove and Brian, if you would, share the not overriding concerns, but the issues that the board, the City Council is made aware of as it relates to size, scope, scale, and other issues that this group, the council and the commissioners, would need to work through or consider in either model which is being proposed.
Thank you, Dr. Hewitt.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
For those that don't know me, I'm Kevin Dove, Fire Chief in Fayetteville. I first want to say consolidation is the right way to go. So let's put that up front. And now I'm going to say I'm not the subject matter expert in 911 operations. I'm the subject matter expert in 911 usage. I have a little bit of a leg up on most people. I've used both the county system and the city system for well over 26, 27 years. I'm also a volunteer fire chief. My concern is, after using both systems through multiple emergencies, natural disasters, and everything else, my personal opinion is that the city 911 center has a leg up on the county 911 center as far as size, operations, management, things like that. Personal opinion, I will say that I've used both for the length of time in the same disasters. Luckily, we came together and made it through all of those. So this consolidating is even better. If you want to ask my opinion, I don't know if you asked, but I'm going to give it to you anyway because you gave me the mic. Option one I like, and option two I like with city management. I'm not willing to offer up my organization under sole county leadership. That's just personal opinion.
Good afternoon, Chief Roberto Bryan, Fayetteville Police Department as well. I can definitely concur with Chief Dove in his observation, but furthermore, when we're talking about operational efficiency, coordination, and accountability, that's what we need to have when we have a 911 center, consolidated center. We also do agree that there needs to be a consolidation, but in order to maintain that operational effectiveness, accountability, and coordination, I would definitely state that the city would have to be the lead in terms of that as well.
So, Chief, either chiefs, as you said, Chief Dove, make sure I'm understanding you correctly, you like the joint structure, which would not be a single entity running it, but with a board that is comprised of the representatives that represent both. Did I hear you say that you did like that, but you said if Model 2, that you would prefer it be a city run? So did I clarify, you said
Yes.
you did like one, but you also had,
911 and emergency services cannot be political.
yes.
Bottom line, it's too important. No offense to anybody. A joint system, because you're going to have users from Cumberland County EMS, Cumberland County Fire Departments. We're not just talking City of Fayetteville and Cumberland County Sheriff. We're talking multiple users that are going to have a seat at the table. You have to have a seat at the table for this. So the joint system, in my eyes, brings everybody that seat. And if you don't choose that option and you choose option 2, then obviously my recommendation is city. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chief Bryan, I did have another question before I go to Councilmember Green. Some of the technologies that the city uses, ShotSpotter or camera systems or some of the other things that we do, with you having experience on the county system, how is the integration of that component? Because, in the event there was a proposed or consensus to explore a proposed model, what does our system have the capability to interface with that the county system doesn't, since you know both?
I don't know the PD side of that, the ShotSpotter stuff and all that. So the fire department, we work on the same CAD now. Like the city fire department goes to the county multiple times a day. So my guys are already working both systems. Everything else you'd have to talk about.
Right. As the department, we're currently right now in phase 1 of upgrades in technology throughout the city. And so we're working hand in hand with our 911 center to be able to accommodate these requests in terms of currently what we're dealing with ShotSpotter. As we already know, that technology is being used in a select area within the city, so we're already doing that. In addition to that, we're upgrading our cameras, our license plate readers throughout the city, but also we're in the process of moving forward towards a drone as first responder program. So all of these things that we're looking at forward are been in discussion with our 911 center and how it would help support those endeavors.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Green, and then I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman. Green, yeah, push him, thank you, Green. I don't know whose seat this is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question. Since we are looking forward and we don't want to do anything that would prohibit us from growing, provided that we get through the consolidation, where does the OCS fit into this model? Because that would eventually, from my understanding of the program, would eventually lead to more calls and them having to be routed in a different way. So what does that look like to manage the growth?
From my understanding, it's a good question, and that, you know, in addition to those two components that we see here, now you have OCS, which has mental health and some of the other non-law enforcement responses. My understanding is that one of the benefits, and the county chairman or one of the commissioners could weigh in, was that there would be integration of mental health response when needed. And so if 911 is called right now, Chief, you and OCS are aligning your response to that and distribute it as necessary. I guess the question would be for the commission, is there a mental health component that would be visualized in your version?
Mr. Mayor, I'll briefly answer that because I'm trying not to. If you look in your slide packet, there's a mental health component slide. Part of where the county is moving forward is ensuring that there's a 911 diversion program where we have dispatchers that are mental health or behavioral health specialists inside, as well as mobile crisis teams. So we're moving in that direction now, and so that we would believe that would be a part of this moving forward. We're already having those discussions with the Alliance, who's our mental health provider partner, to scope out how they are doing it in other jurisdictions right now.
Thank you. Councilman Harry and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, sir. And I think I'm still, and we may not get that answer today, because it was important to me about ShotSpotter. I know it was spoken on, but I don't know if I have any full clarity with that. And it was stated by my colleague to my right with the OCS. I want to understand how that's going to work also. So just for putting it in the minutes, even though the chairman said that there were some items in here, but I think I asked this question, if not at our last meeting, a meeting before, that, yeah, because OCS gave us a report, that a lot of that information, or as far as getting in contact with OCS, will come through dispatch, through our police department, and then transferred to them through the 911 system. They also told us at the meeting that information would come from other areas or other partners where they went out to check on a concern. And I'm talking about OCS. So I think that's going to be very, very important that we make sure we have those entities worked out. And my last comment for now, because this is a big item, so this may not be my forever last comment, when we get down to the cost and the paying and the salaries of the individuals, at least those that are going to be from the city, and of course with the county, I mean, how do we pair that up? If we pair it up, is it done separately? We put a kitty together, a pot together, whatever. So there's a number of things that I think we ought to at least be discussing and have conversations about as we continue to move forward. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions. I want to go back to the OCS. So I think we've all sat here and said we're for consolidation. Now it's just how we're going to move forward. So with the OCS, let's say someone calls and they are in Hope Mills. We are going to take care of that person in Hope Mills, correct? That's my question.
Bryant or the dispatcher?
The dispatching.
So,
And who, is it going to be the Hope Mills police that go there, or?
so right now, from my perspective, OCS is taking care of the city limits of Fayetteville. So we have not discussed regarding outside of those particular limits, but that would be something in terms of an MOU that could be generated between the city of Fayetteville and Hope Mills, but I'll let you all.
Spring Lake and
correct,
everywhere else.
and all those different.
Well, I think she's talking more of the call, not the response to the call.
No, I'm talking about the response.
Oh, Okay.
I mean-
So if Hope Mills has an issue, I don't know that that's a consolidation issue. You're saying that our OCS would respond to Hope Mills for that? Is that your question?
That's my question, because if we are consolidating and we are putting OCS in the same building, and we have somebody in crisis in Spring Lake or Hope Mills, are we going to say, sorry? And we're consolidated. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that's something that we have to pull the onion back on and talk about. And where's the county in that?
I'll share, in terms of when we're talking about consolidation, we're talking about the 911 centers in terms of dispatchers, those folks. OCS is a separate entity that will not be co-located with the 911 center. They're a separate entity, but how it works is when the call comes into the 911 center, they will triage that particular call, they'll route it to us, and then a supervisor or whoever's on the watch commander will determine is this actually a call that we should be responding to, or will we reach out to a rapid response team from OCS to go ahead and respond to. For example, if there's a complaint regarding a unsheltered person in the park at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that is not a police issue that we would have to deal with. That would be coordination that we would have with OCS to dispatch a rapid response team to that location. Of course, we would also be there just in case to make sure, but at that point, once we have the necessary resources from OCS, then they will go ahead and take care of that versus being police.
So, and I'm just trying to get my answer from, because I know that Councilmember Green talked about the OCS. So what I'm hearing is there will be mental health services in this 911 consolidation center. Is that correct or no?
According to the county model, they have that, but currently in the way that we're operating, OCS is going to actually have a mental health component that will be also coordinating those resources for any resident that may need.
Okay, so I guess what needs to be discussed is when it's consolidated, because we've all sat here and said we want consolidation. What does that mean? And I think that's not for you to answer. I'm just bringing it up so we can know. My second thing is, what I have heard, and I'm speaking for myself, and I've been on this for a long time, and it always goes down to who's going to run it and who's going to be in charge. And that's what it is. And I just do not see, I mean, I think we've made a lot of progress. I think we could end this meeting right now because we said we're going to consolidate. And the city, our two chiefs have said, we don't see how it can work for the citizens of the city of Fayetteville without us being in charge. And that's what I heard. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just was looking at the county's mental health crisis integration. So I guess to answer your question, I mean, do you guys have a timeline on when you guys will have your model complete or ready to upstart? Because that'll dictate, you know, because if it's collaboration, that means we don't need to have double services operating the same type of thing. So we already have ours. So when is the time frame for you guys to have yours available and up and going?
Yeah, because I can't answer that question. But Council, remember this. I got Councilmember Hondros, and it had Benavente before Hondros. So Council, today, even if you said you want to do this, you still have the planning, the integration, and the transition. So because you don't have all of the pieces in place today, think of it like this. When you call 911 now, we have a toolbox that consists of him, and now OCS with their functions. They have a toolbox, okay? And if you're on Legion Road that borders Fayetteville, and 911 comes in, let's say you're on the Hope Mills side of the green sign when it comes in, you call 911, the cell phone tower calls these guys. And now they've got to transfer you to Hope Mills because it's really a Hope Mills issue. It doesn't stop anybody from after it's triage, dispersing toolbox 1, 2, or 3. So I don't think that because the call comes in and sends it to the proper address, it means that now our toolbox 3 has to go respond anywhere across the county. And so some of these answers we may not have the details to. Today was one, and I think these are great, very great questions, because I would like to hear, proposed timelines on that mental health component. But we have our component, and so if the call comes in and it's a call around the corner, we still have OCS. The call is being answered by a joint operator, what I heard the chief say, that happens to share a building with their folks, but it still would make it to Mr. Jones and his team to respond. So I just want to make sure we're not merging all of that together to say just because we're sharing space and consolidating who takes the call, that now all city functions and county functions have to work to cover the same ground. And so I just want to make sure we raise that up. But Councilmember Davis, I'll turn your question over to Chairman Devier.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief because I'd like to get it back to Commissioner's side so we can have some conversations on our side. I will tell you that we're working with the Alliance right now to lay out the details of what you see here. So having those behavioral health professionals in the PSAP. So we have a relationship with the Alliance now, who's a mental health provider for this, behavioral health provider for this area. We're working through those details now. We actually, part of our agenda session this afternoon, we're directing them to give us some additional information around the timelines and what this would look like and the cost of it as well. So we are moving forward in that direction right now. For us, the intent is we just want agreements that we're going to have mental health as a piece of the consolidated PSAP, and then we work through the details and the implementation plan of what that looks like.
All right, Councilman Benavente, and then I'll turn it over to the Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little context. When Durham did their alternate response, and I think I heard, Chief Bryan call it rapid response, but I think it's the same concept, that they really started as a city in certain areas during certain hours. And after demonstrated success, it grew to 24 hours a day, being able to respond that way, and then eventually citywide. And then eventually the county said, hey, can we get in on this success? And then they went countywide. So I think to Mayor Pro Tem Jensen's comment about, would we respond to something like that in Hope Mills? I think one day, ideally, yes. But I think we're still, trying to get any kind of rapid response at this point to happen in Fayetteville. So, I know that Councilmember Davis said, when is county going to get theirs started up yet? Technically, Fayetteville hasn't gotten ours started up yet. We've got the office, but we don't have that alternate response just yet. So I think we got to start on our side of the street first, obviously. But my question, I don't know if Chief Dove is still at the mic. So I think Chief Bryan did a good job of saying what he said upstairs that one day a few weeks back very clearly. Chief Dove, I just want a little bit of clarity because there's two models that were presented, and I'm still trying to make sure that, what I remember you kind of educating me on last time is still your position today. Which one of the two models is your preference?
My choice would be the city running it, but secondly would be the shared governance, option one.
Okay. And so your preference is, I guess, option 2 with the city running it.
Yes, sir.
And this is where I would want you or Chief Bryan to step in and just correct me if I'm saying something wrong from my recollection. Our ability to grow, our ability to support eventually with our own 911 call center that we have already put the bond money to the side to start, us already running out of space currently as it stands today. If we were to kind of go it forward with the city running its own operations, I feel like there was also this concept that there might be some interest from Hope Mills and Spring Lake and others to want to consolidate under what we could be building. Could you speak to that, or is that something that I'm recalling correctly?
What I would say in terms of the services provided by the 911, of course, I believe you're talking about Spring Lake and Hope Mills will also be consolidated onto that in terms of the center receiving those calls on behalf of them and then being dispatched to those respective cities or towns.
That's correct. And that
Yes.
would be if we opened up our own center and, grew it, that we've already gotten some indication of their interest, sort of consolidating under us that way. And again, if that's not the case, tell me I'm misremembering.
That is correct.
Thank you. I guess no further questions this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I got Councilman Henderson. I'll turn it back over to the county. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got several questions, but I'll ask one because I agree with the chairman. We've done a lot of talking on the city side, and I'd like to do some listening. But this is for Director Reed and Director Crumpler, unless Chief Bryan can answer it. Do we currently, the city of Fayetteville, have a legacy PSAP or next-gen PSAP? And same question for Director Crumpler at the county.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Council members, Mayor. We do have a legacy system, but we're also next-gen 911, and we have a shared system, and I think what you guys are missing is that we have a shared phone system. We don't transfer callers from the county to the city, to Hope Mills, to Spring Lake. When we get a call from 911, we answer that call, we pro-QA that call, we process that call, and we have a shared CAD system as well, which means what we see, they see. So we don't have to transfer anybody. They dispatch the calls for the county, we dispatch the calls for the city.
Thank you, Director Reed. Director Crumpler, please.
I would echo what Ms. Reed said. We do have a system that we're integrating next-gen 911 components to it. And again, we don't do any of the transferring of calls. If a call mistakenly comes in and it's in the jurisdiction of the city of Fayetteville, we answer that call, we process it just as the city of Fayetteville would.
Thank you. So my question to the group is, when we consolidate, presumably we would be consolidating to a next-gen PSAP, but I think that's a basic question that needs to be answered. But also for Chief Bryan, because I think you were asked, and Chief Dove, about preference, but you expressed some reservations or concerns about operational, right? As I recall from previous small group meetings and previous conversations, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think the reservations or concerns lied more in the dispatch and not the call intake. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
In terms of
When the 911 call, no matter if you're in the city, in the county, doesn't matter if it goes to the county 911 currently or the city 911 currently, the call intake was pretty much the same as I understood it or as I remember from those conversations. The difference was in the dispatch. Was that correct?
Correct. And in terms of making sure that those, with the amount of calls that our current 911 center receives, they're very familiar with the city and everything else, and therefore that high capacity of calls, that we're very well versed in terms of dispatching those calls correctly.
Thank you, sir. I may ask you a little more later, but I would love to hear from the county at this time.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll open it up to commissioners for questions or comments. I just want to highlight a couple things. And we didn't go through the entire presentation because we wanted to stop and go back and make a decision on one or two. But yet we started talking about a lot of items. And so a couple of things I just want to highlight. When you look at current dispatch credibilities and agency programs, of course, what was recommended from the working group was to maintain the highest. So if we go back and look at the recommendations, as well as when we look at technology tools, integrating all highest level technology tools, prioritization of digital dispatch, which we're already all working collectively to now, and then those advanced technologies that would be in place. So I would just encourage our board, because I'm going to speak to our board. I know we didn't go through the entire presentation, but those details are in there. And I'll open it up For comments or questions, I'll start with Vice Chairwoman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few points that I wanted to give my opinion on as I took some notes. And I do think that we need to be that are very mindful when we talk about Hope Mills, Spring Lake, as well as the city and Cumberland County, that, as he stated, when we need to make sure, one good thing about consolidating together is that time is of essence when we have emergency situations. We need to be mindful that as we're growing in Cumberland County, as well as the city, we have large amounts of different activities that are provided. And so one of the primary goals and one of the primary pluses is when we consolidate is that of if there's an emergency, let's say, for instance, for events. And as we know, because we are right here at the community for the largest military Army base, many times we have several events. And so studies automatically show that when you have a joint that of 911, these are factors that we need to consider so there's not like an overload on the system and time responses in the event, especially in times that we live in today, if an emergency situation occurred. So that is why I'm in favor, most definitely, with joint 911, the model that we were looking at. And then I just wanted to provide some information. I know there's a lot of conversation being spoken of when it comes to mental health. As a mental health professional myself, I would state that I do believe, and thank you for that question, Councilman Davis, in regards to a time frame. As the chairman stated, we have been working diligently, myself, him, and the rest of the board, with Behavior Alliance. And one of the requests that I had made, spearheading that particular project with the concern with 911, with the mental health component, is that we want them to bring back, and of course, when you talk about mental health, there's different entities when it comes to the response teams. There's all kinds of, you have mobile crises team, response teams, then you have rapid response that might deal with individuals with addictions. So the reason why that information has not been brought back yet is because we wanted them to go into detail specifically, and as we are aware, we do have a town with a lot of veterans, no doubt, military, a lot of unhoused individuals with homeless, and so we wanted to make sure that when they bring us back two components to look at, ourselves as well as your board, that they are targeting that of our type of community, which is no doubt civilian, military, a lot of the situations with the homeless. So what their task is, and they will have a consultant, is to bring us back two models of which would be the best model that this board and your board could consider. Because when we have this component for 911, that is our goal and intent. We want to make sure that the response team, when it comes to that phase, when we get to that, of course, mental health is a very sensitive issue. It's not something that they could rush through. And so we have them doing research to, similar to be quite transparent, cities and communities of our size that also deal with that of the same type of concerns that we deal with. And again, we are very unique, being that we are a military community as well as with the diversity. So we just wanted to be assured, although it's a wonderful model that we've been looking at just as an option for Durham, there are several other models out there that might be perhaps that of a better suit. We don't know, so we are tasking them to that assignment to make sure that they do deep research to bring back to us more, I guess you could say, the meat of things. And I appreciate all of you all being concerned about that, Councilman Green, Councilman Hare, as I'm sure your whole board. So that's what the task is, for that information to come back before January 1st, because we wanted them to dig deep and bring back two models that could be that of, to make sure the best possibility choices for our community.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Recognize Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that Chief Dove said it best, that whatever we do, we need to take electors out of the picture and let the subject matter experts do this. And so from my standpoint, that would be the Joint 911 Communications Board, which would be run by the city, in the presentation. The joint board, then all of what we're talking about, OCS and all of that, they bring that back. They do that. That's what's the policies, the operations priorities. The only example, the only thing that I would suggest is on that joint board composition that the city manager and the county manager be ex officio members like we do on FCEDC, TDA, and all of that. Because you're talking about, under that governance, you're talking about budgets, maintaining budget oversight costs. It's kind of hard to do that without your managers kind of in the mix of that. I think all the other questions, the very first question, I think that's what the mayor and the chairman's talk about, is once we decide the joint 911 or the single entity, let that joint board or whatever do that. I think the joint 911 takes all of this out of the equation. We don't get into what we want to do. They're going to look at it with the subject matter experts that we have up here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Tyson, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree, and I wanted to piggyback off what Councilmember Hare said about having the ability to get the best person, most qualified on our joint board. And I would turn everybody's attention to, and I appreciate you bringing up that we didn't get to go through the whole presentation, but one of the examples of governance structure would be a 6-member board comprising of 3 appointees from the county side, 3 appointees from the city side. And I think that would be something that I would be in favor of kind of pushing forward. I also like the fact that it is a 50-50 cost model. As what was brought up before, there is some technology that the city has that the county doesn't necessarily have, but there's also some technology that the county has that the city doesn't have, such as our digital dispatch system that we've been working on with Chief Johnson and with our director, Crumpler. So I think there would be some good synergy where both organizations would really be able to take some advantage of capitalizing on the gains that have been made on both sides to propel this forward. So I just wanted to also, before I surrender the floor, just thank Chief Johnson and the working group that came back. I know they did a comprehensive, exhaustive report, and I want to thank them for their time and effort that they put towards this, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Patel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Mayor and City Council, for hosting everyone today. I think when we started the conversation, we looked at FAEDC as kind of a model that works in collaboration between both the county and the city, and we let the professionals handle it. To everyone's points, we're letting the electeds, the politicians, we stay out of it. I think regardless of how we go, to Councilman Hare's point, to Mayor Pro Tem's point, there are two, and to the Mayor's point, there's 2 different toolboxes. But I think, once we start moving together, we're going to learn a lot more. There are going to be a lot of opportunities for growth. There might be areas where we realize there are redundancies or issues that we can go ahead and push out of the way, and it can give us a stronger outcome and process. And I think any issue that any of us have, any residents have, if they're strong, warranted issues, I don't believe anyone in this room, elected or a professional, would be opposed to a pragmatic solution, because this is, at the end, for our safety of our community. So I just want to make sure that, I think our professionals can truly handle it, but I feel like there needs to be some flexibility to grow and be open to taking in the best practices. So that's kind of my point.
Thank you, Commissioner Patel. Vice Chairman Jones, do you have a final comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like the idea, and I agree with both Commissioner Patel as well as Commissioner Tyson. And speaking of, and looking on this paper where it says joint board commission, 6 members, non-elected, I would like us to perhaps take in consideration of possibility of adding 2 more positions, of which could be perhaps mental health professionals, maybe a social worker, or just any in that realm of a qualified mental health professional in the event, considering maybe an 8 board and having 2 of those selected board members, again, being someone that is a representative professional from the mental health field. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner Faircloth, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, everybody, for being here, by the way. And I think that Mayor Pro Tem Jensen said it best. We're here for one thing at a time, and the first thing is to decide between these 2 models. I haven't heard anybody speak highly of the single entity control model yet, and I think that's something we're not ready for. I think, as the fire chief said, he's the world's greatest authority on what he thinks, and he likes what he's used to, and the county people may like what they're used to. But if we start out with a joint board, we can work toward something. Once we have something that works, we can work towards something that's maybe more efficient. And I think it's time to go ahead and cut to the chase and make that decision, and then we can talk about the other things.
Thank you, Commissioner Faircloth. With that, Commissioner Tyson, I'll recognize you for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we vote to consolidate, under the proposed joint 911 model, and that we implement a 50-50 cost split between the city and the county, that we work towards standing up this joint governance board and have them report back to us on some of these items so we can suss that out.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. We've got a motion on the floor to approve the joint 911 communications board model of the governance structure, to look at a 50-50 cost structure, and to we'll set a time determined once to bring back the integration piece of it. And it's been properly seconded. Is there discussions or comments on the motion? Commissioner Adams, you recognized.
And I was just, as to the suggestion of the ex officio members of the city and the county, if that would be a part of the motion.
I'll consider that a friendly amendment as long as Commissioner Patel agrees to the second on that.
Can we just leave the structure of that board open? We just agree that we're going to have a joint board, so we don't get into the weeds of what it looks like.
I'm fine with that, Mr. Chairman.
The ex officio managers in this model, Commissioner Adams, it's the managers on there, not the electeds. Yeah, so if you look at the example, and again, it was just a proposed model, joint board composition, 6 members, no elected. Cumberland County had 3, and City of Fayetteville had 3, so a split.
I understand that, but I didn't want them as voting members. I just wanted them as ex officio, and that those members that would be appointed would be subject matter experts in that 3. That's all.
Well, your advisory board would probably be your subject matter experts. These would be controlling budget and oversight. I tend to want a manager there or somebody at that level, but we're in the middle. If you want to make a friendly amendment, Commissioner Tyson can. I think we can work out the details of it later.
Are we going to be able to add later? Yeah, because I have a question about the mental health.
Commissioner Tyson, are you good? Any other questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote on the Tyson motion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Council, the consideration is a joint or mirroring motion similar to what was passed would authorize the 2 managers to come back with the details, and the final step would be, if this is successful for consensus on our side, is that we give them the areas of concern that you have. I've been taking notes as you've said it today. One, would the managers be involved in what way so that they could keep oversight on some of the budgetary concerns or questions? A little different from how we do EDC. We put the money in there and he has to work within that. This is something different that, we may not know all of our stabilized costs on the front end. But the point is, this is just for a consensus to then authorize the managers to come back at a given time and point with the particulars to that, if there's a consensus by both bodies. So that's what I'll have up for consideration. I think there's a question by
Yes, sir.
Mayor, Councilman Banks McLaughlin. I missed her last time, and then Benavente, and then Hare. Is this the list of this?
Thank you, Mayor. My questions was, I know we've been kind of going back and forth and getting into the weeds of things, and even serving on a city-county liaison, we've had conversations and was presented presentations. So I guess at the end of the day, the concern was who was going to take the lead on this facility. Because, you know, like I've mentioned before, when our residents call 911, they just want to make sure somebody show up. They don't care who's overseeing it, but, you know, we don't want to just keep going back and forth with that. I think that with the advisory board, that'll be the time to be able to have the opportunity to flesh some things out, and then from that point, creating an MOU after getting feedback from the board to see, to go into more details with that. So I guess, again, the conversation for me, or the question was, who's going to oversee the 911 call center? Because if not, we're going to be right back.
Yeah, well, I think the proposal that they voted on is the joint, which is basically, it will be a board that consists of city and county representation, maybe managers in an ex officio position, but it will be ran like economic development, which is not run by either of us. It's just funded by both of us.
And so then from that point, the board is going to come together, or the city manager, because I feel like we're still at the same.
Well, you're not. I think that the Model 2 is where it was a tug of war between what single entity would this group work under. The model that they voted on was the joint option, where it would be appointees and funded separately. So did you see the option 1 and 2?
Yeah, I'm looking at both of them, but again, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Councilman Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Dove, I'm sorry I keep asking you to come to the front, but I just want to make sure that your points are being heard clearly, because I think I heard Commissioner Faircloth say that nobody has said anything positive about option 2, when in reality, the only things I've heard from our professional staff is option 2. I've also heard that every single commissioner and council member has said, let's talk, let's listen to the experts, let's listen to professionals. And then we've, seems like ignored everything the experts that are present today have said, and are just insisting upon what we want in a manner that we literally said take the politicians out of it, but the politicians are the only ones getting their way right now. So Chief Dove, can you explain one more time so that we don't kind of conveniently ignore what you said? And maybe Chief Bryan, if you want to reiterate what you said, because it really seems like y'all are speaking, but they've already made up their mind.
I said I would, if it was my choice, I would have the city manage it and the county fold under us, but I am okay with accepting of a joint committee where everybody has a seat at the table.
But when you talk about preferring the model where we manage it, can you tell me some reasons why? Because again, I think that we're conveniently ignoring those reasons and making statements like no one has said anything positive about that option, when this maybe is an opportunity for you to give some positives about that option.
My history is I have concern with policy and procedure on the county side that I don't have a problem with on the city side. And I'm a user. I'm not a manager of 911. So that's where my history and opinion comes from.
I appreciate that, Chief. Chief Bryan, did you just want to make any other clarifying points? Do you feel like we're actually hearing the professionals in the room right now? Because we keep saying that we want to take the politicians out of it, keep the professionals leading the conversation. It doesn't sound like we're actually listening to what you're saying. Is there any other point you want to reiterate before we go into a vote?
Yes, sir. As I stated before, and I want to make it clear, if we can post the PowerPoint where it shows the model, I'm going to make it crystal clear. Single entity control. I don't know how much more I need to say. Single entity control.
I don't think you did either, sir. Can you give me some pros and some reasons why you feel that way?
We're talking about operational effectiveness and accountability. if you have a county and a city entity, there's going to be an issue about accountability and effective operational control, because there's going to be the possibility of those two trying to figure out who's in control. You have to have one entity in control. This is too important to have two separate, one entity in control.
All right. Thank you, Chief Bryant. Mr. Director Crumpler, are you available? Can you speak to some of the comments or concerns? And Chiefs, who is in charge of Robert Van Gens? Okay.
Mr. Manager, is that really a question that our chief should be answering?
Councilmember, I have the floor. So the reason I was asking that is I understand that you all are the boots on the ground in the operational models. And I understand what you just said, your concern about who's in charge. With the model that is being proposed is a model that you've never evidently worked under. So when you say that no one would know who's in charge, the director in that particular model is Mr. Van Gens, who's in charge, but he reports to a board. He's funded by the city and the county. So I just wanted to make sure that, I understand what you're saying, that we put 3 county people in the room and 3 city people in the room, and then I could see that being a role and responsibility mix up. Mr. Crumpler, can you speak to what these two have said, since you're the subject matter expert from the other side?
So I've had this conversation with multiple first responders in the field, and at the end of the day, what you have up here are you have 2 very proud organizations that are very proud of what we do at the end of the day. I could say that we have, they could say we have operational issues on the county side, vice versa. But at the end of the day, we're both accredited agencies. We both have to maintain that high standard to give us that Tri-ACE accreditation. I think that there's a lot of items that need to be flushed out as far as, the technology piece. Though we don't carry ShotSpotter sound thinking on the county side, we hold the CAD system for the county. We maintain that infrastructure piece of it. Again, we have very proud dispatchers, telecommunicators. So if you ask me that same question about what model that I'm in favor of, it's going to be the same thing but inverse. It's going to be that we have some type of joint board and that we have, a say-so on both sides. There's a huge difference in the way that the county and the city operates boots on the ground. The city, of course, you're the county seat. Your population, your call types are a little bit different. In the county, we have rural calls, which warrant a different type of response, maybe different types of resources. So I think you have it sits one way, half a dozen the other. But I just couldn't stand idly by and hear, one agency is better than the other. I think we're both well-equipped organizations, and I think we could, I know this can be accomplished, but, I think we're getting too wrapped up in the sausage making at this point in time.
I agree with you, because right now there are things you do different, and as you said, you serve a different population. If they had to respond to Turnbull, which is a 20-minute drive from here, it would probably be different things in different capacities. I think everybody's of the expectation that we want the highest level of both organizations that exist currently or higher, and the things that are not aligned, maybe that is an opportunity, if the motion carries, for the managers to get with you all and come find out where the discrepancies are and to bring that back for consideration. So, Council, that is the proposal that is on the table today, not to have all of these things figured, but one, to see whether there's consensus for the joint or the single entity on our side. They voted successfully for the joint, and this would just send the managers and engage them back in 60 days to tell us, or 60, 90, or whatever your pleasure is, to tell us what those things are, hearing the concerns of the day. And so I'll go to Mayor Pro Tem Jensen and Councilmember Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I've got two points, and I'm going to close it. So we're talking about EDC and we're talking about 911. Completely two different entities, two different jobs. When we're talking about 911, we're talking about people's lives. I will say EDC has been very successful, but I can say that we have had times where the city funds something and the county doesn't. We've had times where the county funds something and the city doesn't. So it's not all, butterflies and flowers that everything, it is different. It doesn't say this is what's going to happen and Robert makes the rules. He still has to come to each one of us to get the incentive that he wants. So with that being said, I am prepared to make a motion that we go for the single entity control with the city, because I agree with Councilmember Banks McLaughlin. We've been talking about this for 6 or 7 years, and we have our chiefs up here telling us and advising us, and we say our big thing is public safety, and our chief has sat here and said to us, he cannot have accountability without having the control. And all we've talked about for the past 6 months is public safety on the campaign trail and accountability and transparency. So he is telling us this is what he needs to make that happen. And if we vote no, we're voting no on everything that we campaigned on. So if I can, I would like to make the motion after you're done with Councilmember Hondros.
I'll do that and go to Councilmember Hondros, but I need to clarify. Just because you don't agree on option A or B doesn't mean that one is a statement that you're not for public safety. I think that's a stretch. The whole meeting is about public safety. Now, whose idea is best is what we're talking about. But so I do not agree with that if we don't choose the model that you're proposing, that it means that we don't support public safety. And what I heard them say is their preference is to do it. I didn't hear them say they wouldn't be accountable. Chief, is that what you said, that you wouldn't be accountable?
One thing real quick for me, it doesn't matter who runs it at the end of the day. Everybody's got to have a seat at the table, and there's got to be a central point of contact. If the county's running it and I have a problem, I need to be able to call somebody directly. If the city's running it and Hope Mills Fire Department has a problem, they need to be able to call somebody directly. That's the key in all of this, in my opinion.
Thank you. All right. Who we have? Councilman Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having heard everyone's comments and trying to consolidate it into one motion, I'll take a stab at it. I move that we direct our city manager to work with the county manager to move towards a fully consolidated, single entity control joint 911 with Fayetteville leading operations and a joint community advisory board made up of professionals in the first responders space from both bodies.
Second.
All right.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we've got it already. So it's motion by Councilmember Hondros, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Jensen. Discussion on the motion? Yes, sir. All right, Councilman Hare.
First, I thought we were traveling down joint. That's what I thought initially. I said, okay, good, everybody is doing that. Now, and I do understand our team and their thoughts on it. So what my question is, the entities, I guess the county, the managers, they're going to come together. They're going to have their discussions over the next 60 to 90 days, come back to us, the joint board, and let us know how a single entity control is going to take place. Is that what the motion is that's on the floor?
That's the motion that's on the floor, but it's It's contrary to the motion that's just got voted on. So what that means is that we'll be at an impasse, and we need to move on. So there is no consolidation if this motion passes, and there was option 2.
Because this was the joint.
Correct.
Right. So I just, let me ask this. Let me just throw this up. You know, when we was a little, and I hope none of the men or none of the brothers will be upset about this. When I was younger, I used to play jack rocks with my sisters, okay? And we just kind of throw it up in the air. Sometimes 1 or 2 jack rocks will go all the way over there. And we're going to wonder how you're going to throw that ball up in the air and go way over there and scoop those jack rocks and bring them all the way down. So let me throw this in the air. Is it possible that we leave these give these 2 proposals? Okay, I see heads already shaking, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Because they don't know what work to do.
Give these 2 proposals to our teams and see if they could figure out, okay, how either one of these could work. Is that worth putting that task to our city managers and their teams and county managers?
No.
Jack rocks, guys, jack rocks.
There's a motion on the floor right now, right?
It is. This discussion
In
motion.
discussion
Yeah.
period.
Yes. All right. So Councilman Banks McLaughlin.
Councilmember Hare, this is the conversations we've been having at the city-county liaison, and that's why originally I was proposing by us sitting at the table, the city and the county, at least figuring out at that point who would govern the 911 call center. Because again, it's like we're going backwards, in my opinion, and we're going backwards.
So as I close out, and thank you, Councilwoman, I've served on this board for a number of years, and this has been a conversation, this 911 center. And still today, the same number one concern or objective is who runs the center. All the way back before any of you all ever were serving, we still were having this, and we're still here today, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't want us to lose an opportunity to collaborate, right? I do hear the city of Fayetteville chiefs mention they want the single entity. The county just voted to do joint. If the council would reconsider to go to joint, could there be a probation period that we revisit the structure? If we vote together that we do joint, I'm not talking to you, sir.
Councilman Benavente.
Can there be a probation
Please be recognized.
period?
We're going to mute you.
Can there be a probation period, what, 5 years or 2 years or whatever we agree upon to revisit the structure of the operation system if it's not running effectively? That's just my question.
Well, I think it's important for us to know that, one, even if we take a vote today and they were aligned, there still has to be a plan of integration that we don't have all the details to. They would have to go back, do the work, bring in probably a third-party consultant to transition into it, because we both have our own systems going at the moment. So I think what happens is, Councilwoman Davis, if there is an agreement or an alignment on whichever 2 we decide, the goal was to send them back to come back to say, you need to do the following things to follow your order. But now, if there are 2 different directives given, then we're back to square one. And so that's kind of where we are. All right, Councilman Hondros, and this is your motion, so we're going to bring this to
Thank you, Mr.
conclusion.
Manager. I'd like to ask City Manager Hewitt the challenges with a potential probationary period. It's easy to consolidate, but there was a challenge with if it didn't work out separating. Can you speak to that a little bit, because I don't remember all the details?
And may need some help from Lisa and Rita and Jeff Yates. But We are funded, as is the county, from both general fund as well as getting equipment and some training from the 911 board. If you merge or in some form of fashion, and that we become a one single entity, depending on, regardless of how the governance structure is set up, and the money goes to one location, if ever down the road, which that would not happen, but if ever down the road there were to be a time that you were to split and say we want to untangle this, it is my understanding that the money that we receive from the 911 board would stay with one. It would not be split back up. That's my understanding. That, I don't believe, though, represents the largest amount of funding that goes to both city or county 911 operations. But does that answer your question in part?
Somewhat, and I just want to, for the record, the motion was for a fully consolidated joint 911 with the city simply leading operations. Thanks.
All right, so, council, the motion on the floor is for option 2, as stated. We've had discussion. Look to you for your votes for that, option 2. Sure system. Okay, it's your
Green.
motion, so I can assume you agree. All right, who are we missing? Yeah. All right, so let's just do hands. All right, those in favor? 1, 2, 3. All right, those opposed? Those opposed? All right, so did you get a count? Those in favor, show of hands, hold them high, be proud. 1, 2, 3, and Benavente,
Green.
correct? All right, and those opposed? 1, 2, DJ, which side of the street you on? You can't abstain.
And I know this, I mean, you might as well go ahead on and count it anyway, as it is, Mayor. Look, let's just go ahead and, there's nothing wrong with a try. You know, let the teams come together, put within there, I heard the word, the MOU. Put within there just in case where we can, if that's the case, we go back, you know, the way we were. But there's nothing wrong with a try. So that's why I was, you know, I want, one of my colleagues said they didn't want to throw this opportunity away. I don't either, because I know I've been a part of this discussion for over 20 years and we're still where we are. So what's wrong with us trying? Let's try it. We've had cases where if money wasn't spent or the folk didn't do the land or whatever case within a certain period of time that money came back or the land came back. Why we can't do the same thing with the MOU and put it together? For some reason, it does not work out, even though what was stated with the money that goes into the fund, that it comes back and it's, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Well, thank you, Councilman Harris. So right now, the motion has passed on both ends. One for option 1, joint. City side was a single entity. What we did vote on clearly in the beginning, which is why I asked for that, was that there was a commitment to consolidation. Now, what happens after that, I'll turn it over to the chairman for next steps, if there are any. And I think he had mentioned something that I'm not sure we had taken into consideration.
Can I have a point of inquiry here?
Yeah, I'll call on you in a minute, sir.
I have a point of inquiry here to repeat the motion.
Councilmember, the motion was on the city side for a single entity. Please mute him until we get ready. A single entity on the city side, and it carried 4-3. All right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And board, I'll call on you in a second. I know we got a couple comments. But based on that vote, I know that with our PSAP that we actually respond and take calls from municipalities, and we have agreements with those municipalities. So I think it's prudent for us to have a conversation with those municipalities over the next 30 days, as well as conversations among us at our work session to look at other options or to continue to prioritize a joint board option, which I know that was the will of the commission. But I'll open up for comments, but that would be my recommendation as a direction for us as a board. I think it's important that we go back and talk with our municipalities like Hope Mills and Spring Lake which we service right now, and make sure I know, as well as following the recommendations that we received. I know it was important for this board to follow the recommendations from our public safety officials in this working group in this consolidated report that was presented to our board. So with that, I'll open up for questions, and then we'll turn it back over to the city. Vice Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is basically not a question, but it is a comment. And I just want to speak to our board to say, first of all, Mr. Crumpler, I appreciate you making that known, because you're absolutely right. Both sides on the county and the city are excellent. And I'm here to say, and I think it's fair to say for the rest of on the commissioner's side, boots on ground. As you all know, I'm called the People's Commissioner. So this statement about, or I think I heard someone saying about it being about us today, I want to make it real clear. On this side of the table, the commissioners here, we are here to serve the community. Haven't heard a lot about the community. So one reason why, whatever model is chosen, the joint 911, because the last time I checked, being especially at large, I'm serving individuals, and as we all are, Spring Lake, Hope Mills, and at the end of the day, my concern is the community. And so I'm going to need for Spring Lake, Hope Mills, if you live over the river, Haymont, it doesn't matter to me for everyone to be of quality service. And so I don't believe in just having one. If you've got two of the best, why not let it join? That's just my take. Love to see a survey to go out there, because the community is what my concern and interest. And from what I've been hearing in the community, perhaps you all are hearing something different, is what's wrong with you commissioners? What's wrong with your city? But I'll keep it commissioners, not to disrespect anybody. But I've been living here about 20 years, though I'm a military implant. And everyone that I talk to, those that are, since we haven't heard a lot about from the community, those voices that I've been hearing have been asking me, what's taking so long for you all to get on one system? Because delayed times, getting emails from people from Spring Lake, getting emails from people at Hope Mills. And so my community, so I'm sitting here to represent the community, as I appreciate the commissioners and do so. I'm not really going to get into this ego, who runs what. They're two excellent systems. I believe in giving my community the best. So I felt that a joint combination for the best might have been what our community deserves. Respectfully, I'll work with whatever the team decides to do, but I wanted to make that real clear. We, the county commissioners, I'm hired by the people. I'm here to make sure, like I said, I don't care if you live over the river, Hope Mill, Spring Lake, Fayetteville. I want to make sure that when you call 911, call the fire department, that your family matters. So with that being said, just want to make sure we got that clear what the county's here for today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
You know, I've been in this a long time. I don't want us to leave here thinking that we didn't achieve anything, because we did move one spot, Mr. Mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem, because we've been doing this, and the chairman was in Raleigh. We moved to the consolidation part. You remember, it was always
We did.
co-location or consolidation. So there is a win here today, and I think that we all have to leave with that. Now, we're leaving with different kind of perspectives on that, but we do have a win. So I don't want anybody to think we just had a loss here at the table today after spending 2 hours here. Second thing is that, and I will say this for the chief and everybody else, the county gave up running a 911 center in this proposal. It's a joint board that's going to run this. You know, so it's not like that the county has. That's one of the things I think we talked about, is getting the electeds out of the way. I think having been here around this table, that has been the hindrance of all of this, is that the electeds get in here and go back and forth. I think we've moved hopefully past that, get to this joint board and be able to do that, and maybe we can have some reflection after we leave here. But I think that I think everybody's in the same boat. When people call 911, they just want their phone answered. That's it. I think we're all in agreement with that. We're all in agreement with consolidation. It's just a matter of getting the electors out the way and let the folk who do this do this. That's your Jack Rocks. I play Jack Rocks too.
Shows y'all age on that in a minute.
Commissioner Faircloth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. earlier I said two things, one of them good, one of them bad. The bad one was that hadn't heard any negative from anybody about the single entity control. I was not talking about our professional people. I was talking about the people around this board who are going to make this decision, okay? The good thing I think I said, and needs reiterating, was that the joint 9/11 communications idea could be a step and a movement in the direction of a single entity control, which seems to be favored by the city council. So I probably didn't emphasize it enough, but that was my thought, that this would be a first move, because even though Mr. Hare didn't recognize it, I've been around here longer than he has, okay? So anyway, as an elected official. But anyway, you may be older than me. You may be older than you may be older. But I do believe that I'm ready to make some sort of move in the direction of getting us all on the same page. And I thought that probably the joint model was the best as a matter of moving in the direction of a single entity, because I understand that the chiefs, all the chiefs in here, would like to get the electeds out of it and have a clear chain of command. And the people, for heaven's sakes, everywhere I go, why aren't y'all getting together with the city? Why aren't you? And, well, we are, and we're going to, I believe. We just got to get started and get moving in that direction.
Thank you, Commissioner Faircloth. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm just a little confused, Mr. Chairman, because as we look at this presentation, we heard from the City of Fayetteville's police chief and the fire chief that the preference was a single entity model because they wanted to know who was going to be in control. If you look at this PowerPoint, it says under governance model, day-to-day management, consolidated center director, City 911, Lisa Reed, serves as the consolidated city director. So I wanted to make that observation, in that the objection was they had comfortability with their people because they felt like that they could execute the mission better. But in the proposed model with the joint, it's actually naming that Ms. Reed would continue on as the lead of the combined joint governance center. The other thing that I did also want to make sure that I made comment of was, if you look at the last page of the PowerPoint presentation, I think it's a shame we didn't get to walk all the way through it. You see there's no job losses, which means the city personnel and the county personnel would all maintain their jobs. So you would still have the city personnel in the day-to-day operations with the county personnel. You see that there's salary parity, meaning that the people that are putting in that work would get paid the same wage for the same day's work based upon that. You see program continuity. So they talked about all these different programs. Again, you would maintain all current dispatch accreditations. And then as we walk through the technology modernization, we would focus on the highest level of technology as we look to implement this. So I'm having a hard time, Mr. Chairman, understanding if we're saying, hey, the city's director is going to run it, the city staff, the county staff is not going to be fired, they're going to get paid at the competitive level, at the same level, that we're going to maintain the same technology that both centers have today, and that we're going to look to provide the highest level of service. I'm just having a hard time understanding what the objection is, other than the city wants to run it and they want us to pay for it. In the joint governance model, it seems like that was the most fair and balanced approach, because it allows both county and city to have input outside of the political process. And I just don't see that there's a different level of service, Mr. Chairman. That's my only comment. And one other thing I would like to mention as well, Councilmember McNair and Thompson are both not here today. And I think it would be unfair for us not to also get their input, because I think that would be something that we would want to hear from them too, on where they stand on this position, Mr. Chairman. And Commissioner Council is also not here today. So I think, having all of the members on both bodies being able to weigh in is very important, Mr. Chairman. And I yield back my time.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. Commissioner Patel.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, we could look into these mics, they're pretty nice. So we can collaborate on that too. So one of the big things that I've seen in the last year, but as a community as a whole, I think all of our leadership has really been focused on growing and meeting the needs of our community as we grow, as North Carolina grows, as technology grows, our needs are growing, our school, so, I can go on forever with the list, but I believe, this, with the joint consolidation, allows us to bring all of our best resources together. We have a wonderful director in Ms. Reed who can run this PSAP, and we can jointly fund this PSAP, fund the director in a manner where they've got a strong budget, they've got all the resources, and there will be accountability from both sides. I don't think that a single entity is going to create a better result. So that's what I have to say, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Patel. Vice Chairman, recognized for a final comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering, has there ever been a survey done, again, since we all are here employed by the people? I don't know on the city side, but I guess I'm asking on the county side, has there ever been a study to see or a survey? I know that we've been very successful when we have put surveys out there to actually hear that of the community's voice since we represent them. And if not, then I would like to see about, at least on the county side, seeing about a survey to be put in place and see what the community would like to think about join or not. That's just my comment for consideration.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. And when we come back to talk about it, we'll add that into our discussion points to take a look at. Mr. Mayor, unless we have further business, I'm going to move our board to adjourn. I'm sure you'll have comments at the end, but I'll go ahead and adjourn our board, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, just a couple quick comments from me, very brief. First, I want to thank Mayor Colvin and the entire council for entertaining this. We've got to keep moving. To Commissioner Adams' point, we agreed to consolidation. I think we just need to continue moving through it and have these dialogues. We are committed to exactly what Commissioner Patel talked about. Our board had these hard conversations before, and we knew exactly where we were in a unanimous form. That we believe the joint board, it's the fairest way for the community. So we look forward to continuing the conversations. I think it's important for us because we have had those conversations with the municipalities like Hope Mills and Spring Lakes and others that we serve, that we now, based on the input from the city, that we need to go back and have conversations with them as well. I'm committed to doing that. I hope that, Mayor, you and your board will continue to look forward and to work on this process as we move forward. And I'm hopeful that you and I can stay in contact to determine next steps when we can reconvene. I will move as quickly as I can with our board as well as your municipalities to gather information, understanding we've got a holiday period coming. But I look forward to the continued conversations. I know that the best thing we can do is have a consolidated 911 center so when the phone rings, people get service no matter where they live in our community. So with that last comment, I'll entertain a motion for the Board of Commissioners to adjourn. Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Yes, I move for a motion for the commissioners to adjourn.
We've got a motion to adjourn that's been properly seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. And commissioners, I'd ask you to stay in place while the city council finishes their business. Mayor, I'll turn it over.
Thank you again to each one of you. Thank you, Chairman Devier. Thank you to all the commissioners and to the manager and county attorney, Mr. Moorfield. Good to see you. Thank you, council, for the conversation today. Echoing Commissioner Adams' statement, the most important motion was at the beginning, which was the willingness for the two bodies to figure this out. And now it is not discouraging at all although we probably would have wanted with a little bit more clarity to leave this meeting. But it is a commitment from both boards that was on the record that to explore the consolidation. And so with that, I thank you for your efforts and time to both bodies, and would propose that since we've left that door open, that we reconvene this conversation maybe in January, give us an opportunity for our professional staffs to research and see if there are any similar models that exist anywhere of both of these. We certainly know that the single operation joint model we've seen, I think, was listed, but some of the other proposals and some of the other concerns that were floated today, and maybe have a very knowledgeable conversation in January, which will make sure that it coordinates with the schedule of both bodies. But I thank you for the opportunity that you gave today. I am encouraged that we'll come out of here with at least a message to the citizens that's loud and clear that consolidation is a priority from the both of the local governmental bodies. So with that, I'll go to Councilmember Hare, Green. I think Benavente has his hand, and then we'll do the same with the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to try this once more. I'm just like you all and the residents that I speak to. I really do believe that we can do a consolidated 911. I do. I think it was Commissioner Patel or Tyson that started giving us the top bullets of our discussion in our handout today, in our PowerPoint, that the lead person would be the manager from the city, and on and on and on and on. Fairness in money. There's already a system set up where calls dispense out all over throughout the county, if I understood correctly. And once again, as I've stated, we've had zoning issues and other issues where if a point was not met, that the city council had the right to pull the land back, to pull the finances, the budget back if certain goals and targets aren't met that we agree upon. I would like for us to still try to move forward with a consensus on the joint county-city, and give our staff and us step back an opportunity to work it out, bring it back, show us what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like, and what it smells like, and then we can move forward other than just moving away like we are today. Yes, we did all raise our hand to consolidate, and I think that's a great move, but I feel like we still can move a little bit further. And I would like to put a motion on the floor for this for the joint 911 proposal to go to our staff and let them work it out.
Well,
And then bring it
Councilman
back to
Hare, it is a motion. So it's a motion to reconsider, which would have to be voted on first, procedurally. And the county's already adjourned, so there won't be any input. And Councilman Hare,
That's okay. We
yeah,
talk
I got you.
about
As you consider your motion for reconsidering, know that if this doesn't pass, that we still have the ability to set a follow-up meeting
Of course, yes,
because
sir.
we left the door
Yes,
open.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right,
We do.
there's a motion to reconsider the motion that was passed, is seconded by Councilmember Davis. Discussion.
Well, yeah, it probably does tie into that. Mayor Colvin, in your comments, kind of rounding up what has transpired today, the one thing that kind of rang true to me is I think most of the council members know that I am the person that usually says, I want to follow the experts in the room, because that's what their job is. My job is not the police chief. My job is not the fire chief. My job is as a real estate agent and a developer. My passion is serving on this board. So in that vein, I agree with a lot of what the commissioners said today. We are here to serve everyone, and we did make leaps and bounds, I think, today to agree that we're going to have the conversation. But what I would really like to see is that there is a reason, whatever it may be, and maybe we're not getting the complete story, I'm not sure. There is a reason that both of the police chief and the fire chief made the statements they made. So I would really like to, maybe I don't need to understand exactly why they feel the way I do. Maybe I just need to allow them to move forward with more information and more a seat at the table. I don't know how we got here because I have a limited 2-year experience. Mayor Pro Tem has a longer history, so do you, Mayor. So it's hard to sit in this seat as the new person at the table and know how to move forward. It's going to be even more difficult for the new members we have coming on to council to pick up where we've left off. So in that, to follow up on what you verbalized very well, I really want to understand how they arrived at where they are. And like I said, I don't think it has to be today. I just would like them to have a seat at wherever we go to move forward, to really feel free to be more vocal.
Thank you. And I also have to, if we're going to take the testimony of the two chiefs, we have to also factor in Director Crumpler's perspective as well, and as well as the municipalities. But
100% agree. I'm
Right.
sorry, I didn't mean to
That's right.
dismiss your ideas.
All right.
Because what you said was 100% true as well. You know what you work with, and I think Chief Bryan said, I know what I work with. Chief Dove obviously said, I'm the user. But sometimes the user is more beneficial. Think about programmers and that don't ask a user what they need in their IT program. It's useless. You can write all the programs you want to write, but if it doesn't do what I need it to do, it's useless.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, Councilman Benavente and then Mayor Pro Tem. Oh, I hear his phone rattling. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Green. Yes, I have been involved in this for probably 8 years, so I could talk about it for 5 to 10 hours and tell you some of the reasons that I feel they feel the way that they do, and especially in the county too. I will say, I personally think that there will be a new council in January. I think that my personal opinion is we need to let it alone. Y'all bring it back in January. Let everybody get all the knowledge that they can on this. Because yes, my knowledge of this is extensive, and again, can go back and say this, and that. So I cannot change my mind when our professionals are up there saying to me, I don't feel comfortable with this. So maybe the best thing is, regardless, we have to take care of the vote. I will not be voting for it because of that reason. But I do think if the will of the council is to start back in January, then you need to have meetings after meeting to get everybody up to par, because this is people's lives at stake. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's evident today, we haven't heard from Chief Johnson, and I don't know, I didn't see a representative from the sheriff here either. But it's somewhat evident that the commissioners are having conversations that we're not privy to necessarily, obviously so, or their conversations are different. Council's having or has had different conversations. And then I think the professionals in their task force or their group that was assembled to kind of guide us to get to where we are today probably had conversations that we haven't had either. So I think today was a good first step in trying to intermingle those conversations, because it's important that we all hear everything from everybody. So I think it'll happen quicker. I think it's actually December when the new council comes on. So I think, I'm not opposed to talking about it further today or next week, but it may be just as well to wait for the new council because they're the ones that are going to have to work through it, so.
All right, thank you. So we do have a motion on the floor to reconsider. Council, I'll look to you for your votes on that.
I had my hand
Oh,
up as
okay,
I had
yeah,
my
we
hand
called
up
you.
as well,
All
sir.
right, Councilman Benavente.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager, what, if any, impact are these conversations going to have on the motion we passed previously as a city council to have staff reach out to folks to build our next 911 call center that we took out those bonds on?
If there is further conversation that the council plans to have in early January, February, we could accommodate the direction that the council gave us, which was to hire an architect for the 911. We have not selected a site at the moment, and so if it is the intention of the council-elect to bring this back or discuss this in further in 2026, the work that we are, preliminary work that we're doing would not be impacted at all.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I think that at the end of the day, we have potential to open up a 911 call center that accommodates the needs of the city of Fayetteville. And I think it's very likely that we can consolidate underneath the leadership of the city and our professional staff to best serve the county entirely, potentially. I think that's the direction that our professionals have made clear. And I know that the politicians aren't liking their answer. I think there's a lot of potential for the next council to be much more of a rubber stamp for our current mayor. And it's potential that the interests and the
If you don't stick
expectations
to
of
the
our
topic,
professional staff.
you're gonna get muted.
This is part of the topic, sir.
Well,
This is the part of the topic. The
keep it-
expectations of our
do not make pointed remarks.
The expectations of our city staff and professionals has been made clear today. I highly doubt that it will be taken to heart, unfortunately, knowing what is to come. Thank you.
All right. Well, new council, if is in January, we'll have that option to consider. Right now, we had a motion to consider on the floor.
Rubber stamps.
Calling for the
Yes, sir.
vote. Mute him, please. All right, council, waiting on look to you for your vote. This is a vote for reconsideration. And we can rest assured that the other call is opposition. All right, unmute him so you can verbally hear it. All right, Councilmember Benavente.
Red.
All right, so motion to reconsider passes. All right, now, the reconsideration, Councilmember Hare, what are you asking to be reconsidered?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm asking that we give to our staff, well, I'm asking that we reconsider the joint 911 communications. And, yeah.
Is this to have staff bring back more
Yeah.
details on it to whether there's other models and some of the other questions that came up? Or what's your
Well,
motion?
I don't want to say any other models because that's just going to open up it more. I'm just going to leave it at this one model. But to let them bring back the information on this
Hold on,
consideration. And if this
procedurally.
will,
Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Hondros said that his system is no longer allowing him to vote, so the vote was 4-4. It failed.
Okay, all right. So motion to consideration fails. Thank you for the update. And it was four opposed and how many people we have? Okay, we have 2 missing. All right. So Councilmember Hare.
Just move to adjourn.
So you're doing proxy votes, yeah. I thought you just saved that for budget. Okay, all right. Well, Council, look, this is a great meeting. Again, Mr. Chairman, I will reach out to you to see when we can get with the commissioners to schedule a follow-up meeting in January. We will give the remarks out of this came joint board agreement for consolidation, details to follow at the next follow-up meeting. Council, with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. All right. Thank you.